Hello and welcome to episode 61 of our podcast, Smart Consulting Sourcing, the podcast about consulting procurement. My name is Len and I'll be your host today. Each week I'll give you the keys to better use, manage and source consulting services. This week I'll tell you how to qualify a consulting firm for a project. Last week I explained how to find the right consultants. We saw that the first step is to define what you're looking for. There are several markers that define the consulting DNA of a company. The obvious capability, industry experience, but also the footprint, culture, and delivery model. But building a list of potential consulting firms is just the first stage in the process. A consulting firm might look like a perfect match on paper, but there's only one way to know if they have the right skills, industry experience, and project experience. Talk to them. So, you need first to put up a list of potential players, and the size of a project will determine the length of your list. Consider including around 15 to 20 firms in your first search if you need to find a mid-sized project and compare 3 prospective suppliers. When I perform a search, I usually end up with 30% of the firms that don't have a suitable consulting DNA profile and 30% that aren't interested or available for the project as baseline. When you have finished compiling your first list, you need now to have a closer look at their characteristics to make sure that they have the right profile. Even though numerous consulting firms claim to have competence in all capabilities in every sector, the track record shows it's not true. Most of them, tiny boutiques, for instance, specialize in just one capability or sector where they obtain most of their business. So examine the case studies or previous projects listed on the firm's websites carefully. Look at the company's previous clients. Who are they and what they did? The background of the company's founders is another valuable clue to the company's primary objective, especially for tiny firms. But first, take a look at the management team. In their brochure or websites, most consulting firms will state their purpose or methodology. You learn about who they are and how they operate. Are they focusing on high-level strategy rather than implementation consulting? Are they working more on hard or soft aspects? Are they long-term consultants or former executives with prior experience? These elements will provide you with an understanding on who these consulting firms are and how they would interact with your organization. Don't just call any consultant, especially if the consulting firm is rather large. Each partner comes with a unique set of talents and expertise, which will influence your project. Consulting organizations are generally divided into industry experience or capabilities when not both. They may also list a leadership team on their website with their contact information. If not, you should be able to find partners and check out their profile using LinkedIn. Thought leadership is also a handy tool. Check for papers or white papers on the subject of your project. The name of the authors and the contact information are often included in the materials. Make sure they are working for the right firm by checking the present position on LinkedIn. The turnover in consulting is breathtaking. You may be one company behind. After that, you'll probably add a few consulting firms to your list. You should now have a list of consulting firms that appear to have the proper people with the appropriate skills in the right locations. Your next move is to contact them and check their interest and availability face to face. 3 factors must be discussed in person: interest, availability, and compatibility. Next, connect with the consulting partners you've identified to schedule a call or a meeting after you've finished your list. Here are a few pointers that you can use for these calls. First, listen to them. They'll describe what they do and how they accomplish it. You'll discover more about their culture, methodologies, and area of specialty. Examine your list of criteria to verify whether they are a suitable match. Avoid giving out too much information about the project. It's still an exploratory call rather than a briefing, and you haven't signed an NDA yet. However, you may describe the skills and previous work experience you're searching for, as well as some information regarding the team in charge of the project. Give them insight into the project's likeliness to be launched and time frame. And give them a general sense of the budget. You don't have to give a precise number, but you may let them know if you only have a small amount of money or if it's a major project for your firm. It's also critical to test your hypothesis and make sure they're interested in the project you want to start. It's also a good time to see whether they'll be able to commit and have the bandwidth for their endeavor. Once you've completed that stage, talk with a project sponsor and leader to pick which of these businesses you want to include in your RFP. After you've chosen a handful of consulting firms and begun the RFP process, the final stage is to verify their references. Don't be fooled by the big display of logos in the presentations or the case studies on the website, which are both anonymous. Request at least 2 referrals for the project. Take the time to contact the references and ask the appropriate questions. You may begin by listing the qualities that are most important to you, such as knowledge transfer, team collaboration, or company impact, for instance. Make sure you ask all of your references and consulting firms the same questions. You can add a few customized questions to clarify some gray areas. Consultants have a high turnover rate, which studies showing that it ranges from 15 to 20%. Partners and consultants move from one consulting firm to the next, get hired by clients, or start their own consultancy. Whole teams are replaced every 4 to 5 years by new talent. A cutting-edge organization practice gathered brilliant people from all over the world in the top 10 consulting firm in 2012. Unfortunately, all the consultants had departed 5 years later, but the firms maintained the white papers and references in their presentation. The leadership of your project and the experts involved are crucial aspects of success for a consulting engagement. Request references for the key team members. They must have been actively involved in the project mentioned. Make sure the reference is relevant. First, it must be genuine. Oh, don't do me too quickly. We've seen consulting firms send the names of their former employees as references. To verify that they are actual persons and have held relevant jobs, check the reference name, position, and background. Second, it must be on a project with similarities to yours. It may be a project with a comparable context, methodology, or industry. You want to make sure the consulting firm understands how to execute your project. Third, the reference has to be current. The more recent, the better. Set a time limit, no more than 5 years is reasonable. The rate of progress in every sector and area has accelerated over the years. A project successfully led 15 years ago may not tell us much about what would happen today. You'll want excellent references from the experts that they've made a significant contribution to the client's company. It will also provide you with some data on their performance on the various dimensions crucial in your decision. If you've chosen cultural fit as an important element of your project selection criteria, investigate how the consultants interacted with their teams and how they adapted to potential cultural differences. Don't accept compromises under references. If the consulting firm is using confidentiality as a pretext to avoid reference checking, call Consulting Quest. We are a third-party expert and we can verify the credentials for you. Having a list of consulting firms perfect on paper is not enough to qualify them for a project. You need to find out how real they are. You can't just go with your guts here. A thorough reference check is the only way to determine the performance of a consulting firm. It's not easy to find a consulting firm that meets all your criteria, but it's well worth the effort. By following this straightforward process, you will find the best fit for you and your project. I spent a little time this week on the importance of checking references. In a way, you will need to get some measure of performance on similar projects. It's not very different from measuring the performance of your own consulting projects. And that will be the focus of next week's episode, how to evaluate the quality of a consultant. In the meantime, if you have any questions or want to learn more about what we do, our consulting quest, just send me an email at hélène.lafitte with 2 F and 2 T's at consultingquest.com. You can also have a look at our website, consultingquest.com, to know more about our book, our publication, and our services to improve your consulting sourcing. Bye, and see you next week. Au revoir.